That's not fair to come after an iron deal. So I started thinking maybe I should have practiced some moves before. Interestingly, when I was asked to speak, and I started thinking what the audience would be, but for us older folks in the room, I think I would address a little bit of advice to the young ladies, and then some may be applicable to those of us. I was hoping my book would be ready, because I would have autographed a few for the audience here. It would be on Amazon right on Thursday. The title is The Success Blueprint. And some of the points that I share on that book has to do with where do we stand, whether we're young, we're old, with our circumstances and moving forward. One of the things that I try to stress to every young person is making some plans, commitments, goals. You could describe it any way you want. One of the most successful business owners in this country pointed out that success is very simple. Decide what you want to do, where you want to be. Then decide what price are you willing to pay to get there. And then pay the price, and you'll be successful. So for some, it could be education. Most of us, when we talk about education, especially at an older age, the sacrifice is more, because we may still have to work and support the family. So we are doing it in the evening or weekend. So the price is even higher. For younger people, do you take opportunity? If you are privileged or have the opportunity to be in school, what price are you willing to pay? In fact, what came to my mind when I was thinking about this, recently MSNBC, Lawrence O'Donnell, featured an African girl by the name of Joyce Chisale. I don't know if you've seen. The title of her poem is Little by Little. She dropped out of school because her father could not pay. In fact, the interview is still online. If you Google Little by Little Malawi or MSNBC, they still have about 5 minutes, 29-second program on that. When I listened to her again, what I was touched with, even though she said, well, my father was sacked from her job a long time ago. I know some people don't understand what sack means, but she was fired from her job. So she couldn't go to school. So MSNBC offered to interview her. She showed up at that interview in her school uniform. Even though she was out of school, she had dropped out of school. They asked her why. She took pride in being a student, even though she can no longer go to school. Now she's back in school, and she looked Donald in the face and said, I will not disappoint you. I would work hard to have good grades. That's commitment. That's appreciating what he has. So to be successful for adults or younger people, one thing we don't do enough in this country and around the world is to take time to reflect appreciatively on our blessings. Stop and think. In the last day, last week, last year, has anything happened in your life that you should be thankful for? Then when things get rough, stop and think and reflect on that. Can you imagine that, okay, these good things have happened in my life. Now I can go through the rough times. It helps to be appreciative. If you look at your environment, if you look at your peers, they complain about everything. They are expecting entitlement. That shouldn't be the case. So think about what you can do to get yourself out of it. I could relate to Joyce. I was not able to complete high school because my father died at a young age. But I was able to find my way. When I got into school, I did not stop and complain. My mother was not able to buy books. I went through high school 5 years without a textbook. So I would go to him and borrow his physics textbook. Read as much as I can read, because that might be my last chance of having access to that textbook before exam. I'll do the same with her chemistry book or her math book. I went through high school in good grades. I arrived this country, same way. Don't let your circumstance determine what your future is. You can take hold of your future and do the right thing. For me, what has been the foundation, not offending anyone here, has been my belief in God. That forms a foundation. It gave me solid things and situations where nobody around, but I was still accountable to someone higher. For me, that helped. The other thing that I would share with you that is very important to reflect on is to reach out and help other people. Let me explain the power of that. My wife didn't know I was going to share this. She's afraid of flying. I remember one time we're flying to Europe, 8-hour flight. We got into the plane. There was a lady sitting next to her, had a Bible open to Psalms 91. I thought she was reading the Bible. We had a slight delay before takeoff. About 30 minutes into the flight, I looked over. She still had the Bible on Psalms 91. The pages were crumpled. She's pressing onto the Bible so hard. Within a few minutes of her having a conversation with this lady, found out that she was terrified of flying. For 8 hours, she did not accept any refreshment, no drinks, no food. Back then, there were foods on an airplane. So, no food, and she did not get up to use the bathroom. She was afraid of flying. But what happened was, my wife spent the entire flight comforting this lady. When there's turbulence, she's helping this lady to realize everything will be okay, we're not crashing. You know, when we landed, I came to one conclusion. That was the first flight that I did not spend time comforting my wife. Why is that a lesson? The fact that she was preoccupied helping someone else in need did not take away her fear of flying, but took her attention away from it. To the point that she was more of an assistant to someone else. So sometimes all we need to do is reach out and help someone else. It will actually take your minds away from either your situation. The more you dwell on your situation, the more depressed you are. But the more you help someone else, the more you realize someone else needs more help, and then you move forward a lot better. So helping is part of a very powerful ingredient. That's why she and I now volunteer several hours a month, and my entire family, in Bible education. We help people to find out what we have found. And so the final thought that I want to share with all of you also has to do with one thing that's very powerful. You've heard that knowledge is power. Educate yourself to move forward. I made a determination many years ago that I would never spend more on my head than in my head. Let me explain. Things that go on my head, like haircut, shampoo, and other things, takes money. So I made a resolve that no matter what happens, every time, whether it's a month or within a year, everything that I spend on my head, I have to exceed that on things that goes in my head, like books, tapes, things that increase my knowledge, no matter what the field is. So in my field, insurance and financial services or public speaking, I'm always learning. I invest money, I invest time to do that. Those are things that, when applied, makes a big difference. Instead of watching TV all the time or just recreation, you make the time to do what is important. So to sum up what we've just shared, very simple. If you walk away with 3 very simple thoughts, always take time to reflect on your blessings and be thankful, be grateful. Make commitments by setting goals, determining what you need to do to get to those goals, and pay the needed price to get there. Success will come if you work hard. People have made jokes about I had a client a few years ago, a doctor said, it is interesting that the harder I work, the luckier I get. So other people just sit and think he's lucky. He knows he's working hard, okay? And then help other people. Invest time in reaching out and being of service to other people. And finally, educate yourself.